What I do, bro? Welcome to another video with Time with Garrett. And in today's video, we'll discuss pretty much the stagnant wage growth, stagnant wages, and why Americans are making more money, more guapa. So, I guess we can start this discussion with pretty much corporate profit. A lot of people would probably equate that to corporate greed, but I call corporate profit and over pretty much people profit, right? So in America, pretty much like if you understand or if you see how businesses or how businesses operate, pretty much like corporations need to be able to or set up with pretty much like a medium level management, or rather low level management, medium level management, high level management. Now the two first management are usually in house, like you pretty much deal with those up to pretty much like general manager. So that really technically gets told by the higher level managers what to do. Now the higher level managers get told by board members what to do in the company, right? So technically meaning that most of these corporations have investors, outside people who aren't even really in the company, but because the money are in the company, they're the boss of the company. If the board members pretty much vote unanimously, like, hey, this is what we need, boom, this is what they need. And the board member only are worried or concerned about profit. And that is very important because the profit technically is what is reported to pretty much like government agencies of finances, like the SEC and pretty much like the CFTC and all those other governing groups to pretty much show that hey, the business is doing good or bad. That makes it so that when they take the company public, little people like us can buy little shares of the company and then make money if the company keeps going up, right? So corporations in America pretty much like are equating to pretty much like most of the wages, or rather most of the money earned in America goes to those big behemoth companies, right? So as America lost all its small businesses, the big behemoth companies are pretty much like control the wage growth as well of how the company grows. Now, as time went on, you see that instead of I guess like hiring the best employees, or rather hiring employees just so that they can hit the target goals and all that stuff. Now they hire employees only to make sure that the target goals are met for the stock market and for I guess like reporting like for the reporting reports that they need to distribute to pretty much like everyone who needs to who invested in a company / bought a share in a company, right? So as more of that type of individuals or I guess like concerned, they don't care about how much you're getting paid. They don't care about like pretty much like your well-being. They really don't care much about a lot of things unless like your well-being correlates to them losing money. So as let's say Apple stocks, like most of the money goes into investing into the share of the company, right? Only the higher level managers, they get a big cut of that because they are like the main shareholders of the company. So that means like they can go from having like maybe a few thousandaires to like a millionaire to like a billionaire, simply because they got into the company early, right? But the individual on the bottom, they try to pay them as low as possible so that these individuals can grow the company, yet they do not see any percentage of that company's revenue or the shares of that company really. Now investors can benefit from it in the stock market, of course, but the employee benefits zero out of that, right? Meaning that as long as like the managers are doing well to keep their people their jobs, or rather the positions filled, and they follow the governing instructions. As far as like you need a certain amount of minorities, you need a certain amount of white people, you need a certain amount outsourced to third world countries. As long as those numbers are met, they don't care about if you're making more money on that. So that means that as time goes on, they can keep telling you that they can choose not to elect to raise your pay, even if the company went from a $1 million company to a $1 billion company. They can just not raise your money. I mean, you signed up to get paid a certain amount, and that's what you're gonna get paid. Now there's raises who they usually introduce cents to your amount per hour, but it really doesn't really help you with the complete whenever it comes to like what the company truly is worth and compared to how much they're paying to the company. There is no direct correlation to that. Does that make sense? So corporation focusing on profit over people is pretty much one of the reasons why like I guess like wage has stayed stagnant, right? Now another thing that one of the reasons why like companies were able to get away with it is because labor unions, for instance, were taken out of circulation. Now I'm not saying that they were taken out of circulations, but pretty much like you see a decline in labor unions as time goes on. You can even see like back in 2020-ish, 2021, Amazon was taken to court because they were trying to dissuade employees from forming labor unions, right? That is because these unions, like if, for instance, enough employees were to state that, hey, due to how much money we've been making, or the companies have been making, we've been getting paid fairly, these labor unions, like the representatives of these unions, can come up to the company and actually have a talk to them about increasing the pay. And if of course like it's not paid, there is the threat of them either losing the employees or getting I guess like confronted by some lawsuits, right? Which of course it's a lot easier for these lawsuits to go through with labor unions as opposed to individuals approaching the company with their individual lawsuits, right? So labor unions over time, just like that, they've been out of circulation, like barely talked about. Even while I was working with Amazon, we would get these pretty much like what to do if a fire were to happen or protests were to happen. And another one was if employees will start talking about unionizing, right? Because you can see that the big corporations, they understand the threat that labor unions has posed to their corporate profit, right? Because the corporate profit isn't supposed to go to the little people. It's supposed to bring a nice big ass bonus for the shareholders and the CEOs, right? But not to the employees. But the introduction of labor unions will definitely make sure that a little piece of that pie will go to the employees, and they can have that. So labor unions going kaput, right? Then there is also the automation and outsourcing of pretty much like jobs, right? With pretty much like all these, I guess like industries, like for example, car industry now have like doesn't require you to stand in line in order to like assemble a car. There's robots now in place to be able to like put a lot of things together. So now they only need humans for like a small little aspect of that, right? So, like I said, pretty much like the skill of humans needed for these type of things are no longer really in demand. So making it easy for companies also to like bargain and be like, hey, if you don't like it, just leave. They can tell you to just kick rocks or quit or whatever if you don't like how much you're getting paid or your working conditions, right? While in the same token, things that can easily be done by an Indian or a Thai or somebody overseas who will do it for much cheaper, right? They can easily have those individuals write either a piece of code that can do I don't know, like print the t-shirts. They can do many different things by outsourcing a lot of their things outboard, which they will get to pay at below even the minimum price to get one person overseas to do those things, minimum wage. I mean, by getting people from overseas to do things, they'll get to save a lot of money, meaning that a lot more of the profit can go back into the company so that they balance books. I mean, on their at the end of the year when they show how much they were able to save and how much money the company was able to make. It looks good for investors to put money into their pockets. You understand? So the automation and outsourcing also pretty much like made Americans almost obsolete. And we got the minimum wage issues where like pretty much like, based on of my understanding, minimum wage in the country is pretty much like decided based on like pretty much like how much income per capita. I mean, rather how much the corporations or how much the medium. I'll need to get back to you on that, but like pretty much like from my understanding is like there is a cost associated to pretty much like what the median what you need, the minimum you need in order to survive in a country. Meaning that all the corporations, for instance, right? Like if there was a pool of money in a country, and pretty much like based on the inflation and pretty much like how much that sector makes, or rather that sector pretty much. 1 second. So yeah, like my bad about that. But like pretty much like pretty much the amount of how much you get paid compared to like the cost of living and what's the minimum needed for you to survive in a specific region, right? That was supposed to be pretty much like how they calculate that in order to like pretty much know, okay, this is how much you really need in order to technically survive and get the basic necessities in the country. And with not put into account, like for example, inflation, how it has been rising, they've been doing their own little things by pretty much looking the other way, and for many years, right? Because of the fact that for many years, nothing really was supposed to be changing as far as like the printing of money and all that stuff. Like that type of stuff was not supposed to happen, right? But not at least at the rate that is happening currently, because like in the recent years, you've seen pretty much like the exit. We've printed a shit ton of money for Afghanistan. We printed a shit ton of money for COVID. We printed a shit ton of money after COVID for pretty much like to get the country in balance. But then the country got balanced out, and then we printed a lot of money to bail out a few banks that were crashing. We printed a lot of money for the new wars that were created. All that stuff is introducing more dollars into circulation, right? Meaning that if whatever minimum wage was established back in 1980s, 1970s, or 1990s, even early 2000, are completely irrelevant now, because like the normal working day American technically cannot survive off of that calculations from that back in those days. So they need to, do the math again in order to like establish like, hey, based on like pretty much like how much dollars we have in circulation, not only in the U.S. but in all over the world, right? The weight of the dollar has fallen drastically. So because of that, the minimum amount of dollars an individual needs to make per hour needs to skyrocket, but that hasn't been calculated and hasn't been reintroduced into Congress. Really, I mean, they tried the $16 an hour, but this is just a base number, right? This is something that they thought up so that they don't, how do I put it, destroy the economy. Technically, that's the minimum that they can think of that wouldn't destroy the economy. But technically, all the dollars out in circulation, out in the world, needs to be backed by something, right? Which is another topic for another day. But because of the minimum wage staying low, that also states that pretty much like people who have skilled jobs, right? They get stolen from as well. Because like, let's say the minimum wage was $16 an hour. Now somebody who graduated from college were to show up into a job that pays $18 or $19 an hour, would probably feel very insulted and would probably protest. Now imagine if many individuals were to do that, right? So it's behooved them to make sure that the minimum wage is low and remains to what it used to be, right? But of course, with everything happening right now, I'd be surprised if like all the prices, or rather all the pay adjustments did come through, because their goal is to make sure that you keep looking at the low minimum wage, while in reality minimum wage probably should be in the 18, 19 dollars an hour at this point, based on how much dollars they printed out, you know. But of course, like, all that dollars is sitting in some rich people, some not the rich, but like but technically they are rich if they're part of the military industrial complex, if they're part of the political houses, you know, if they're part of like pharmaceutical houses, if they're part of like I guess like governing I guess like you know, government places like the VA, the SEC, like all those places get its stipend each year, you know. And the army, you know, they get a stipend, and they get to burn right through that budget like as fast as possible. If you're part of those, then yeah, like your minimum wage, I mean, or rather, you're doing fine. You don't care about minimum wage. But if you're outside as an employee into normal day America, you ain't got shit, you know. So yeah. Anyways, sorry for the last part. I got a brain fog. I mean, a brain fart. Trying to think about how to put minimum wage and how it technically screws the American, due to the fact that we're not sitting on the correct number that we're supposed to be sitting on, right? But anyways, this is Time with Eric. Today we discussed the stagnant wage and why Americans aren't making more money, and pretty much I'm wishing you a wonderful day. You have a good one.